It is 6 o'clock.
Are you turning the mic on?
We'll wait just a second, get the microphones turned on. Okay, we're going to call this meeting to order. If y'all wouldn't mind standing doing the Pledge of Allegiance with us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alderman Miller, would you give our invocation for us, please?
Would you join me in prayer? Heavenly Father, we come, Lord, we first say, Lord, we are so thankful for this day. We are thankful, Lord, for the opportunity you have given each and every one of us, the opportunity to serve these your people. We ask tonight, Heavenly Father, for a special prayer upon Shane Todd, the water department, and the entire public works crew. We thank you, Lord, for your protection on the day. That you continue, Lord, to allow him to be better than others thought. And Heavenly Father, we ask you, Heavenly Father, to continue, Lord, to bless our other workers wherever they might be at. Continue, Lord, to bless our soldiers wherever they might be. We just thank you right now. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Okay, in front of you, you have an amended agenda with the 2 or 3 minor items that were added, and if I could get a motion to approve that agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The motion carries. And just so everyone knows, Alderwoman Lynch is attending remotely. She is on the intercom with us. Next is to approve the docket of claim numbers, and it's all the ones that you see listed there, minus item 15, which was removed.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And that motion passes. Next, we have a special presentation of an award by the NAACP.
You left a minute.
Oh, minutes.
Oh, I got ahead of myself. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Now we will have the award presentation from the NAACP.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Robert Tipton Jr., and I am the Desoto County NAACP president here in Desoto County, Mississippi, and I stand before you today to make a presentation. And I thank you for having us here on your agenda. Thank you so much. Desoto County branch, P.O. Box 236, Hernando, Mississippi, 38632, letter of commendation. Whom shall I send, and who will go for us? And I said, here am I, send me. July the 4th, 2021, we're a little late with this, but with COVID, I guess everybody understand. The recipient is Pastor Andrew Miller, husband, father, pastor, alderman, Mississippi Municipal League Hall of Fame inductee, past president of the DeSoto County Housing and Human Development Agency, former Mississippi Army National Guardsman, former DeSoto County Deputy Sheriff / bailiff, and a member of the DeSoto County branch of the NAACP. Rationale: committed service, longevity of service, exemplary service, unselfish / compassionate service, commendable commitment. Alderman Miller has answered the call numerous times. Here I am, or here am I, to digitally serve the citizens of DeSoto County. Most importantly, Pastor Miller understood the call, who will go for us. The call that mandates selfless service with no potential for fame or military gain. Therefore, on behalf of the DeSoto County Branch, Unit 5574 of the DeSoto County NAACP, We say thank you, Alderman Miller, for your trailblazing service to the citizens of the Desoto County community in the great state of Mississippi. Robert Tipton, President, Willie White, Branch Secretary. If I might, I want to ask all of the members of the NAACP that's here to stand. All right. Pastor Miller, Alderman Miller, thank you for your service. You rendered us so selflessly, and you do more service for this community.
Thank you.
We'll take just a second to let Alderman Miller have a photo op.
Can we get the members to come and stand with Alderman Miller? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good to see you, sir. We have another agenda item right after this one. Item 8 is the presentation from the Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity, Inc., Dr. Greg Hudson, President, Dr. Charlie Reese. And Dr. Reese used to be one of our aldermen, if y'all didn't know that.
Thank you, Mayor and Board. It's a pleasure to be here tonight to honor such a great man and to be in the company of all these great civic leaders here in Hernando. It is our esteemed honor to be here tonight to honor Alderman Andrew Miller. The Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, the Sigma Iota Lambda chapter, located in South Haven, Mississippi, presents this award to Mr. Andrew Miller, the Excellence in Political Action Award, for 23 years of continuous service as alderman in the city of Hernando, DeSoto County, Mississippi, dated today, October 19th, 2021, done with the signature of our president, Dr. Gregory A. Hudson. We thank you for this opportunity to allow us to honor him. Alderman Miller, we thank you for all of your service and all that you are about to do in your next term. And we know that this is just the beginning. Thank you, sir.
Congratulations, Alderman Miller.
Thank
Next, item 9 is a resolution to proclaim October 25th through 29th as Stormwater Awareness Week. Can I have a motion on that item?
Motion. Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The motion passes. Next is the consent agenda. Do I have a motion on that item?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The motion passes. Next is item 11. Anna Holtzclaw is here. It's consideration of the participation in the initial development action related to the Mid-South Interstate Compact Agency. This idea grew out of the Mid-South Mayors Council, which is a council of mayors from across North Mississippi, Eastern Arkansas, and Western Tennessee. We had the idea quite a few years ago that we are all working as a region. We obviously have a friendly competition amongst each other, but we realized that to compete, we needed to compete as a region, and that's how the Mid-South Mayors Council was formed, and this would be the next step. So I'm going to let Anna talk about that. And we may or may not have a... We're not sure if the internet's going to let us work, but if not, she can talk about it because she knows it inside and out.
Yeah, so if not, well, I'm going to unplug this then I'm not on top of you. Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here tonight. I'm sorry I didn't bring Alderman Miller an award, or did not bring an award. Downside to following up on that. I'm honored to be here tonight. As Mayor Johnson said, this is an effort that grew out of the Mid-South Mayor's Council, which has been operating since 2013. The idea here is that there is an entity called an Interstate Compact Agreement. It exists. There are over 200 of them in the United States. Mississippi, Tennessee, and Arkansas are actually party to 30 of them that exist right now. And so this is a known process, a known entity to do here in the United States. We have come up with ours based on sort of 4 premises and 4 ideas behind it that back it up. The first is that we are now competing as regions globally within our country, that we are not competing with each other. Our competition is not within an hour's drive of each other, although sometimes in the nitty-gritty details, we feel a little bit of that. But the other thing that we know too is that when we look at these other regions that we're competing against, is that one advantage that others have over us is that they are not navigating multiple states in order to make these things happen. That when we talk about an Indianapolis or an Austin, they don't have to navigate 3 states like we do. And several of the cities that we consider peer regions, like St. Louis and Kansas City, that we compare ourselves to, actually have interstate compact agreements in place to do this. And then the last premise that we've sort of based this on is that it really does take every single one of our regional assets to match our competition's assets. And when you just look at labor sheds and trying to attract companies here, when we talk about the number of employees, our radius is a 60-mile radius in order to equal the 30 or even 15-mile radiuses of other communities that we are competing against. So we believe that a solution to this would be forming an interstate compact agency that would promote regional collaboration between East Arkansas, Northern Mississippi, and Western Tennessee around efforts that really make our region an even better place than it is, and really capitalizing on the unique place that we live here in the United States. So what could a compact agency do? These are all just options. None of these are confirmed agendas yet, but these are types of things, suggestions people have made that this could be an advantage for us. We could get together and prioritize and champion infrastructure projects for the region and go to the federal government and have 3 states to combine together lobbying for funds. We could serve as a federal grant fund applicant. Compact agencies are allowed to issue bonds in the municipal market as a conduit agency that does not affect the credit ratings of any of the other states or cities that are a piece of this. We could champion economic impact studies for things like a 3rd bridge. We could use this entity to protect our aquifer together. We could look at how the Mississippi is an inland port and how we need to take all 3 states' boundaries on the Mississippi River and figure that out together. The list just sort of goes on and on of types of things that we could do together. So how does the compact do that? It is, as I said, an agreement between 2 or more states. It takes passing, and it would take passing in all 3 state legislatures, all 3 governors, and then it goes to U.S. Congress, and the U.S. President signs off on it. And that's what gives it the authority to do all the things that I mentioned earlier. The governance structure, what makes this different than I think some of the other regional efforts that we have considered in the past, is that the way this would be set up, or the proposed idea right now that would get put into the draft documents, is that each state would have 5 commissioners. And for any initiative or project to get taken on by this entity, it would have to get a majority in all 3 states. So Tennessee could have all 5 votes, Arkansas could have all 5 votes, and if Mississippi only has 2 votes, the organization doesn't pick it up. It has to be a majority in all 3. So it really equals the playing field for us. So we're in a position right now today where we need to move quickly. From a timeline perspective, the fastest way to get this done is to draft the compact and the state legislation for Tennessee and Mississippi right now so that it can be considered in early 2022. If it passes in both the state legislatures and the governors, we would then go to U.S. Congress a year from right now in the fall and get it passed there. and signed off by the president. And then Arkansas State Legislature doesn't meet again until early 2023, so they would pass it then. But the law allows us to do it in that order. So right now, we know that in the next 3 months that we need to build a platform of stakeholders and supporters that want this. We need to draft the compact agency and solidify that governance structure. We need to start planning for public events and bringing groups together to start talking about this. We need to prioritize some of the projects we might start looking at, and we need to launch a larger fundraising campaign to raise the larger amount of money that it will take to get this entity to where it can be self-sustaining. So what we are looking for right now is we are hoping to raise $150,000 by December 31st, ideally, really by October 31st. As I stand in front of you today, we have $107,000 of that committed already. The entities that have committed are the City of Memphis, the City of Germantown, the City of Bartlett, City of Olive Branch, Tipton County, and all the other ones are under consideration and have meetings in the next 2 weeks going on. So we're just looking at closing that gap so that we can really hire the lawyers and start getting all of the documents and the lobbying efforts due and organizing ourselves to start building the support for this.
And we've kind of got a little formula in DeSoto County when there's something that the county and all the cities participate in, and it's based on population. And based on our DeSoto County share and our population, we'd be asking for about $3,000 from the city of Hernando as our portion of it. Yeah, we could take that out of our tourism fund. We've got some extra funds in there that could be used for that. I think my personal opinion is that we have the MPO, the Metropolitan Planning Organization in Memphis. That is great for getting us some of these funds we need on a large scale for infrastructure, but it's not enough. There is really no other way that those of us in DeSoto County have to go after really, really large funds. And I think the premise behind this, from my perspective, is that we would be joining, which seems unlikely, joining our congressional delegation with Tennessee's and with Arkansas's to have more oomph, if you will, in Congress to get us some large funding for major things that we wanted to do as a region to make us grow as a region. So, and it is a little bit of a bet. Will it work? Will it not work? But I think we don't have any other options for going towards long-term, large funding. And I think putting $3,000 up as our piece of starting that would be a good thing for Hernando. So if y'all have questions, Anna can answer any of them.
I could talk about this for hours, but I know y'all don't want to
I
listen.
asked her not to.
Happy to answer any details I skimmed over.
I'd just like to ask, how long have these talks and negotiations been going on?
For this one here,
I'm actually talking to the mayor and the council of government now.
Maybe 8 weeks. It actually
August 17th was when
Yeah,
the
so-
mayor's council said, yes, we think this has legs and we want to try and make it happen.
Right.
And also, and Johnson, you said Olive Branch right now is the only city that has committed.
Did you say how much?
I'm talking about that DeSoto County. You said the Olive Branch is the
Yeah,
only
so,
city.
well, Olive Branch is committed, and then it's on the agendas for the DeSoto Economic Development Council on October 29th and South Haven on October 29th. So
Mayor Musselwhite's
they
a
haven't
big
gotten to
proponent, so he
this
thinks
meeting
theirs
yet
will
for
pass.
those two entities.
And Mayor Musselwhite's share in South Haven will be the largest share of the cities in DeSoto County. And Memphis put up 75,000 right off the bat, didn't they?
Yep.
And I know she talked about the makeup, about 5 commissioners from each state.
Yes, sir.
There again, between you and the mayor, what kind of proposal would they talk about on them commissioners being selected?
So that's one of the things that we do need to work out. In other compact agencies, they're done in lots of different ways. There are places where the president appoints all of them. There are places where they are elected. There are places where they are self-selected and self-perpetuating. So that's one of the things that we were going to have to put in front of the mayor's council and get consensus on how everybody wants to structure it when we write the charter this fall.
So basically we need a commitment by November the 31st. Well, no, your first target deadline on the paper that we was given was September the 30th, which I know we passed that now.
Yeah.
So the next target date is, what, October or November?
Yeah, I mean, we would like to have the 150 committed by the end of this month, so in the next 2 weeks.
And it will go before the Mississippi legislature in this session, and it will go before the Tennessee legislature in this session. It won't go before Arkansas's legislature till the following year because they only meet every other year. But it can start without them being fully signed on.
Correct. And that's the urgency of this, is that Tennessee and Mississippi, we need to get it submitted to the legislature as soon as possible.
Any other questions from anybody?
So who brings this in front of the legislature? Are there legislators that are already committed to bringing a bill forward, or what does that look like?
So that's the part of it that we're still working on. There is a man named John Nations who has worked for an interstate compact agency that operates in St. Louis on the Missouri-Illinois realm, and he is the person that we would hire to draft the charters and to lead the lobbying efforts for us.
What about the individual that we hired to do lobbying for the county, that we went into partnership with? Doc, you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, the guy at the Desoto Economic Council?
Yeah, that each city is already paying for a lobbyist to do things for municipalities that we signed on, and it was in the last year or so.
I know he's there, but I
You know what I'm
don't
saying,
know him.
I don't recall, Andrew.
But I'd like to, for the mayor to make sure we get him in the loop, because we all.
Oh, absolutely.
Each county is already paying him money.
Yeah, he could be a
for
helper for Mr.
lobbying-
Nations
For
for
lobbying
sure.
effort that we already paying him for.
Absolutely. It's going to take us all.
Right,
to
that's
get
what I'm
the-
saying.
right,
We
absolutely.
already got somebody
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
doing that for the municipality.
Yeah, that's great to know. That's the first time someone's mentioned that. That's good information to have. Absolutely. And we present, I'm meeting with the Desoto Economic Development Council. I'm doing this by memory. I think on October 29th at 12 o'clock is their meeting, and I'm giving them this presentation as well.
We can make sure we.
Okay, all right. Any other questions? If not, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes.
Great.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you all very much.
Safe travels. Okay, next is item 12 on the planning agenda. DJ, are you going to lead this for us?
All righty. This first item is a final plat application for Section C of Winningham Estates, which of course, I think everybody's probably familiar with the location. It's up in Nesbit, on Nesbit Road. They're just west of the interchange. Basically, it's a 35 single-family residential lots and one common open space. I've given you a brief history of the various approvals up to date. Winningham Estates has a minimum lot size of 10,000 square feet. And in Section C, the lots range from 11,538 square feet up to 30,220 square feet, with the majority of the lots being in the 11,000 to 19,000 square foot range. The common open space lot consists of 16,391 square feet. Access into Section C will be provided by the construction of 4 new streets, including a westward extension of Andes Way from Four Ways Drive, as well as a northward extension of Wooten Drive and Winningham Drive. There is also an as yet unnamed east-west street along the northern edge of Section C, and all of the streets will have 50-foot right-of-way. Basically, all of the lots will meet the requirements, setback requirements, and I've listed for you there in the staff report. The minimum heated floor area for Winningham Estates subdivision at this time is 1,800 square feet for all homes. 1.5 two-story houses must have a minimum of 1,500 square feet on the first floor. All homes must be a minimum of 75% brick with a two-car completely enclosed garage. One interesting thing about the subdivision, Section A was originally developed by Brad Seidel and Ken Grisham, doing business as Winningham Development LLC. They, of course, sold the few remaining lots in Section A as well as the rest of the property to Lloyd Miller Jr., doing business as Winningham Estates LLC. He then developed Section B and is the developer of Section C. As a result, the restrictive covenants recorded with Section A are not the same as the covenants that were recorded with Section B, but the covenants for Section C will match those of Section B. Okay? So it's a little bit interesting thing there. One thing I will point out about the proposal is that the street and lot layout in A and B match the preliminary development plan, but the street and lot layout in Section C does not. Basically, the applicant made a presentation at the Planning Commission meeting. There's apparently a large fiber optic cable that required the relocation of some of the streets, and I'm sure they'll discuss that with you tonight. Section C, at this point, Section C does not complete the subdivision. It probably completes slightly over half of the subdivision. There's rather a substantial amount yet to the west of this Section C that remains to be developed. So this is not the last time we will see this subdivision. One thing I will mention about the development, according to the developer, in order to develop Section C, they have to bring in power off Highway 51, and in order to do that, they have to cut in a road from Highway 51 into the back portion of the subdivision. That will be utilized from now through the remainder of the development of Winningham Estates as the construction entrance for that subdivision. I think everyone recalls we've had comments in the past about construction traffic, utilizing Winningham Drive in particular, I believe, and concerns by the residents. It appears that that will be corrected as part of this Section C portion of the development. In fact, it's my understanding that they're working with MDOT right now on the permit for that access point on US 51. Planning Commission reviewed this request for final plat approval at their meeting on October 12, 2021, and found that the submitted plat generally conformed to the requirements of the subdivision regulations. Therefore, the Commission voted unanimously to recommend to the Board of Aldermen approval of the final plat, subject to certain specified conditions contained in the proposed motion that you have in your staff report. I would note number one, which is revise the final plat to include the street names for all existing and proposed streets on the plat, and to include the plat notes on the page containing the plat drawing. Right now, we have notes addressing certain things on the plat drawing, but the notes are on the second page where the certifications are. And of course, anybody who's interested in the plat will be looking at the drawing page, so we want to be sure that those notes are, together with the drawing. Item number two, because the street and lot layout will not match the preliminary development plan for this PUD, that will have an effect on future sections of the subdivision. So I have included a condition that they submit a revised preliminary development plan for the entire development, reflecting how the new street and lot layout for Section C will fit into the overall development of the property. And then from that point on is our standard subdivision conditions, and that's my report, unless anyone has any questions.
Any questions? Is the developer here to speak? Or a representative of the developer?
Hi, Joe Whitfield, 4305 Highway 51 South, Hernando. Okay. We did move the streets. The density is the same as it was approved originally. We're not adding lots, we're just we've relocated some streets. The construction entrance is gonna be, this section will beat the permit from the state. So this section will be started through the subdivision, because until we get the permit to access the highway, we will have to build an access point for energy, but it doesn't have to go all the way to the highway because of their first pole. We'll just have to build it to where they can service their line to come in there. Once the permit is acquired, then we'll get it done. So we're going to plan on bonding the streets in the subdivision until the time that we can open up our construction entrance and move the people, is what it's got. But I mean, it's the state.
So as soon as MDOT issues that permit, will y'all remove the construction signs down on Nesbitt Road?
Yeah,
and
once
make
we,
the construction
yeah, once
entrance
we,
up
yeah,
there?
once we move that, once we get that built and in, you know. But right now, if they give us approval in January, you know, we're still looking at late spring, being able to get it built due to the weather, I'm sure. So we're gonna have to come through there up until the point that we can get approval to enter the highway there.
Do we see any problem with MDOT issuing that curb cut permit?
Your guess is as good as mine. It's the state.
How long do those permits normally take?
Andy?
It varies. We submitted one just for a separate driveway 4 or 5 months ago. That took two and a half months just for driveway. I think we submitted this one about 2 months ago.
Have you and Joe Frank got together on how much that this road would have to be bonded for, if you use interest? Joe?
No, we hadn't. I've seen it flat, but I've not figured any bond on that yet.
And I yield to our planning director. Will we need that amount tonight to go forward with this?
Actually, she's the planning director.
Well, since the presenter then, I'm gonna say the presenter of this, would the presenter then answer my question?
No, we do not.
Thank you.
The conditions of approval that are attached to the approval, you know, require that a subdivision development contract be completed before the plat's recorded, that will contain the information relative to how much has to be bonded. They'll have to submit their letter of credit before the plat's recorded, along with their title certificate letter and some other items. So everything will be addressed before the plat is recorded.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Whitfield? Alderwoman Lynch, do you have anything else? Okay. All right. If not, can I have a motion? Hold on one just a second. Was there anyone here that wanted to speak to this issue? I'm sorry. Okay, if not, now can we get a motion?
Motion to grant final plat approval for Winningham Estates subdivision section C consisting of 35 single-family residential lots and 1 common open space lot located on Nesbitt Road north of Barksdale Drive, east of Breckenridge Drive, on Four Ways Drive, north of Andy's Way in section 25 Township 2 South, range 8 West, based upon a finding that the submitted final plat generally conforms with the requirements of the city's code and ordinances, subject to the following conditions: 1A and B, and 2 through 14.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Thank you, Joe. Okay, BJ, do you want to hit item number 13 now?
Okay.
All right, the next item has to do with the approval of the Renaissance Park, or excuse me, Renaissance Bank 2-lot subdivision. Basically, you know, we kind of discussed this a little bit during the appeal that we had at the last meeting relative to this property. There are two lots right on the corner of the entrance to Renaissance Park that Renaissance Bank retained when they gave the park to the city. And of course, one of them is being actively developed for a mini storage / RV park storage type facility. The other one is currently vacant. Basically, what we found as part of the process was that although the two lots are appropriately zoned for what's going on there, they were never platted and recorded. And under our ordinances, you know, we can't issue a building permit unless it's on an approved lot. So that's why this plat has been submitted. Basically, the two lots, Lot 1 consists of 3.49 acres, while Lot 2 consists of 5.70 acres. Both lots have direct access to both US Highway 51 and the entrance road to Renaissance Park. Both lots have access to centralized water and sewer services. Both lots, as I mentioned, are currently zoned C4, planned commercial. And as proposed, the submitted final plat meets or exceeds the development requirements for the C4 district. I did want to draw your attention to the fact that both lots are somewhat constrained in their development potential. On the Lot 1, which is the southwest corner that is currently vacant, has substantial floodplain impacts on that property, whereas Lot 2 is constrained by two sanitary sewer easements in the northern portion of that lot. Both are reflected on the plat, so they won't be a surprise to anyone that might come along and look at that property. Planning Commission reviewed this request for final plat approval at their meeting on October 12th, 2021, and found that the submitted final plat generally conforms to the requirements of the subdivision regulations. Therefore, the Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval to the Board of Aldermen for the final plat, subject to the conditions specified under the proposed motion. Basically, number one, revise the plat to reflect a 50-foot wide front yard setback along the entrance to the city's Renaissance Park, and revise plat note number 1 to replace front yard as shown with 50 feet. Revise the plat drawing to reflect 10-foot wide utility easements on the front and rear property lines and 5-foot utility easements on the side property lines on all the lots, and revise plat note number 2 to reflect a 10-foot wide utility easement along the rear property line rather than 5 feet. And then from that point on, it is our standard subdivision conditions. And that's my report, unless anyone has any questions.
Are there any questions from the board? Any questions or comments from the citizens? Alderman Miller, you look like you have a question.
Oh, no.
Could I have a motion?
I got a question.
Yes, Joe.
What is the zoning of the lots?
C4.
How much?
C4.
C4, okay.
Did you have some concerns that we needed to hear about?
No,
Okay.
a few things on the plat, but I think that can be addressed.
Okay. Is there a motion from the board?
Motion to grant final plan approval on, for the Renaissance two-lot commercial subdivision, 9.19 acres, two lots located on the northwest and southwest corners of the intersection of US Highway 51 and the entrance to the city's Renaissance Park in Section 24, Township 3 South, Range 8 West, based upon a finding that the submitted plat generally conforms to the requirements of the city's code and ordinances, subject to the following conditions: 1A and B, and 2 through 9.
Second. Agree.
Motion second by Alderman Robinson. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. We will move on to item 14, which is also a planning commission item on a rezone.
Yes, but it's the last.
You're such a good reader. That's what we want you to do.
Okay, The final Planning Commission item for this evening is a rezoning request to amend the zoning map from R12, single-family residential district, medium density, to the C2 Highway Commercial District for the southeast corner of US Highway 51 and Green Tea Road in Section 1, Township 3 South, Range 8 West. Basically, this is the property that's on the corner just north of Crossroads subdivision. It's part of the property owned by Mr. Wilkins, who was the developer of Crossroads subdivision. It's basically part of the undeveloped portion of the property, north of the subdivision. It does not directly adjoin the existing subdivision. Basically, their request, as I mentioned, is to rezone from R12 to C2. Essentially, originally, the property was originally zoned as a commercial PUD. Then in 2017, they requested a rezoning from the PUD designation to the R12 single-family residential district, which were approved by the Board of Aldermen on September 19th, 2017. Following that rezoning, the property owners submitted a preliminary plat for Wilkins subdivision, which then, of course, became Crossroads subdivision, and it was a portion of the property that essentially constitutes phases 1 and 2 of the Crossroads subdivision. The submitted preliminary plat did not include 30.01 acres, which ultimately has become known as Crossroads North subdivision. Some of you may recall we approved a preliminary plat a couple of months ago for this property. Again, the 4.85 acres located on the southeast corner was not included in that preliminary plat, simply identified as future development. The applicant now seeks to develop the remaining 4.85 acres. Future land use map for the city's currently adopted general development plan identifies the subject property in the single-family medium-density dependent land use designation. This category is to provide for the development of single-family detached dwellings on moderate-sized lots. This category also includes the type of single-family residences known as patio homes, townhouses, condominiums, and zero-lot line homes. Single-family medium-density residential developments should be located on collector or major arterial roadways. Zoning classification recommended by the General Development Plan for properties identified in the single-family medium-density dependent land use designation is either the R8 single-family residential district or the R10 single-family residential district. Therefore, the applicant's request to rezone the property to the C2 Highway Commercial District would not conform to the recommendations of the General Development Plan, since the plan recommends either the R8 or the R10 district as the preferred zoning district for the single-family medium-density dependent land use designation. Now, of course, in reviewing any request for rezoning, you have 3 items or 3 criteria to consider. I have included the applicant's responses to those 3 criteria in your staff report, along with our comments, staff comments. I would note that the request, of course, is to rezone to C2 Highway Commercial because the C2 district is not a planned district, such as a PUD or an overlay district. Subdivision approval is not part of this application, so it will come back to you at a later date for subdivision approval should this be approved. Since the property was not included in either of the Crossroads Phase 1 or 2 final plats or the Crossroads North preliminary plat, must be submitted as a final plat for its own development. Copies of the R12 Single Family Residential District and the C2 Highway Commercial District has been included in your staff report for your information and comparison. As I've noted in the past, in evaluating any rezoning request, you need to be comfortable with any use that's allowed in C2, regardless of what the developer may intend for a specific use for the property, because anywhere down the line, if whatever they intend to do originally doesn't pan out, the zoning will still be there, and of course, anything on the C2 list would be eligible to go in there. The Planning Commission reviewed this at their meeting back in September, and following a public hearing and discussion by the commission voted unanimously to recommend approval to the Board of Aldermen of the rezoning request to the C2 Highway Commercial District based upon the findings reflected in the motion to approve and their personal knowledge of the area. The subject property, consisting of parts of parcel numbers, and I'm not going to read those big, long, hairy numbers, is located in southeast corner of the US 51 Green Tea Road in Section 1, Township 3, Range 8 West. You, of course, have the proposed motion with suitable findings, motion to approve. Also, I've given you a potential motion to deny, if that's your choice, with suitable findings. And then, of course, you always have the option to table the item if you feel like you need more information or more time to review it. One thing that I will note in terms of the Planning Commission's review, which I think was important to their consideration, was the fact that, this is a corner that's located, on the corner of two major roads, US Highway 51 and Green Tea. In addition to that, the other corners of the intersection are all already zoned commercial. It's the only one that's not. So I think that played a large role in their consideration. So that's my report, unless anyone has any questions.
Anyone have questions for BJ? Did the developer, anyone want to speak on behalf of the developer?
George Reedy, 175 East Commerce, Hernando, Mississippi. Representing the developer here, Cal Wilkins, Desoto Crossroads, LLC. I appreciate the opportunity to speak the first time in front of the new board, so I appreciate that. And I've already introduced myself to Mrs. Cobb earlier today and had conversations with her. Look forward to working with her. And of course, I've been working with BJ for, I don't know, we better not talk like that, BJ. Before I was on the bench and after I was off the bench, so we've got a lot of history together. One other thing I wanted to point out, I hope there's not much dissension or concerns about this, because we're just going back actually to what it really was, but I will point out that I'll acknowledge I'm 64 now, my eyesight's not great, and I try to get on the internet again before this meeting, and I know what BJ says about the plan, and I'm sure he's right, but it looks like to me that the comprehensive plan for the city might say that it is some kind of commercial right there on that corner. And I may be completely wrong, and I apologize if not, but I would point out to you that your general plan was adopted by the city. It was done by Barbara, I think, in 2006, and this property was actually rezoned into a commercial PUD in 2007. So if that plan does say that it's residential there, that plan was amended in 2007. Clearly, there's been a complete change in the circumstances of that area, because if the city found that all the criteria had been met to change it to commercial in 2007, it's obviously much more powerful argument for it being commercial now than it was in 2007. And then what happened with that was, of course, the crash was in 2008, I think, and so all the commercial died. Despite marketing efforts by everybody, And it wasn't just Mr. Wilkins, because I was involved in all of that Banks Bottom up there, and when I was on the Desoto Council, that was all supposed to be big office center and commercial thing, and that all crashed. And so it took till 21 to get anything done up there. But because of the housing market continued to boom in DeSoto County, they desired to change it back to so they could do more residential development in there and just maintain this order as commercial. Well, they went to the city, who was Mr. Briley at the time, and I apologize having to say anything about mistakes since he's not here to defend himself, but it's my responsibility to represent the client, is that they got advice from Mr. Briley at the time as the head of the planning department that they couldn't just amend the PUD, they had to rezone all of it. Of course, that was a mistake. You can amend a PUD. And I think this came up to the planning commission, and BJ acknowledged that that's absolutely right. But the only reason this corner was rezoned was because they were told by Mr. Briley they had to do it that way. So that's why the entire R12 was in there. This corner on 485 was kept out of the change because, yes, you've already approved a preliminary plat for the 30 acres right behind this for more houses. So this leaves the 485 on the corner, which is faced by C2 on all the other corners, to go back to that. So I would say, and then I will also point out to you, I think your future use plan clearly says a form of commercial in this corner. And although you're not bound by it, the 269 corridor plan, which everybody had to input in when that was developed, that shows it as non-residential, neighborhood commercial, or highway commercial mixed use. So I submit that it would be in conformance with the existing plans and certainly the future plans. I'm happy to ask any questions if anybody's got anything specific they're concerned about.
Any questions for Mr. Reedy? Are there any citizens here that want to speak for or against this project?
I'm not against it, but what are they planning to put there?
Well, I don't know that a specific plan is part of the rezoning request. They're just asking to rezone it to C2.
Oh, okay.
Any questions from the board or a motion?
I make a motion to recommend approval to the Board of Aldermen of a rezoning requested by Mr. Bob Ginn with Land Development Resources LLC, representing Cal Wilkins of Crossroad DeSoto LLC, the owner of the property of a 4.85 acre parcel of land located on the southeast corner of Highway 51 and Great T Road in Section 1, Township 3 South, Range 8 West, from its current zoning in the R12 Single Family Residential District to the C2 Highway Commercial District based upon the following findings, and include items 1, 2, and 3 in the staff report in the motion.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. And that motion passes. Okay. Thank you. We will move on to item 15, which is to appoint Amy Clare Holder as the hearing officer for the debt set-off program. As y'all know, the previous board adopted the debt set-off program. We're a member of it. And if we want to proceed and start collecting some of those debts, we have to have a hearing officer. And our city clerk has said that Amy Clare Holder should be that officer.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Anytime we have a change in people who were on the credit card list at the bank, we have to amend it. The names you have on the list here in items 16 and 17, I would like to add Kendra Cobb's name to both of those lists. She may at times have to use the city credit card to purchase things for her department.
It's already on there, man.
Oh, was it on there?
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, well, never mind. Can we have a motion on item 16?
Motion to approve.
second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. And item 17 is the other credit card, the MasterCard.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. And that motion passes. Item 18, authorized to hire Aaron Wisner as a part-time kennel tech at the animal shelter at the rate of $12 per hour, filling an open position.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. Item 19 is authorized to hire Jessica Yount as part-time kennel tech at the animal shelter at the rate of $12 per hour, filling the other open position.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. Next is to authorize to apply for the United States EPA Brownfield Assessment Grant and to choose PPM Consultants, Inc. as the environmental contractor to assist the city with grant management, environmental assessments, remediation, and related activities. We've gotten 2 of these grants in the past. They've been put to good use, so this will be our, we've tried another time and did not receive it, so this will be our 4th try and hopefully 3rd time to get one of these grants.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Number 21 is to authorize to adopt the Hernando Fire Marshal's fees and fines as presented to the Mayor and Board of Aldermen in the Hernando Fire and EMS 5-year plan. In a nutshell, many of our bigger companies come to the planning department and pull their permits, their regular building permits, and then they call the fire department and say, hey, we need to pull our fire permits, and the fire department says we don't charge them for those fees. Most other cities do. As y'all know, Matt Massey spends a lot of time working on reviewing plans and doing inspections, and we are not getting compensated as a city for that, and most cities are. So we're just asking to approve the fees that are in front of you for the fire fees, and those would go into the general fund when collected.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there some discussion, Alderman Piper?
I just had a quick question.
Go ahead.
Is this, or just refresh my memory, will this be collected by the fire department or will it be collected by the planning department?
It's
Like,
generally
who will
collected in
collect-
the planning department when the building fees are collected. So we'll have to update our software and do some stuff down there. So when they come in, they'll pay all those fees at one spot in the planning department.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, there's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. 22 is to approve to accept Granicus annual renewal of $10,302.60 for the city's website. That is in our budget, and we were expecting that bill. We just need to accept it and sign the renewal.
Oh,
I'm not
Just-
sure I understand.
Were you speaking for Alderman Miller when you
Is
said
that a voting woman there?
That was about what?
Alderman
Doing good,
Miller.
man, we got that extra. Now, they have all the website stuff, correct? Is it gonna be more user-friendly?
Gia has told me it
That's
will.
my point. I mean,
Yes.
because right now, our website is not user-friendly when you go to it.
Right, especially on a handheld device.
Yes.
Yes.
And so I have no problem with renewing the budget, but somewhere along the line, they need to
Improve it.
improve the,
Yeah.
This is just renewing what we currently have, though, right?
Gia says they're going to be doing an update that's going to make it more user-friendly. But if you want to make that part of your motion,
so move.
okay.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to accept the contract with the understanding it will become more user-friendly. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Next is authorization for the police department to order and purchase 4 Dodge Charger PPVs, 1 Dodge Durango PPV, 1 Ford F-150 SSV, and 1 Ram 1500 SSV, all on Mississippi State contract and all budgeted for this current budget year. And who knows if we'll be able to get them, but we need to get them ordered.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Next, the continuing discussion of upgrading the proposed 8-inch water line on Green Tea Road to a 12-inch line. Mr. Pittman, would you like to tell us what you've come up with in your research about how you think we could do what we want to do for the good of the city and do it in a legal manner?
Mayor, I've looked at this, done some research, and there's a lot of different cases about purchasing water lines or entire water systems. This is not an entire water system, so the city can certainly do that without having a vote by the citizens on this. I think it's been suggested that the property owner install the 12-inch line, and then the city may be able to purchase that after appropriate appraisal and good faith contracts. There can't be any preset numbers involved with any kind of purchase by the city of that, if he's going to try to sell it to us. He would have to build it at his own expense and at risk of the city not purchasing it from him. That seems like a route that some of the alderpersons suggested that we take, and that would be certainly doable.
And I know the board sent Joe Frank away to come up with some, he was going to call a pipe company and get some prices. And I know those prices came in way over $50,000, which meant we would have had to bid out the pipe and go through a long process that probably we would not be able to do because they're going to be installing the pipe very quickly. Is that how?
Yeah. It's about $83,000 worth of
But I think I'm agreeing with Mr. Pittman to do what the city is trying to do. That's the only legal, and I say again, the only legal alternative that we have if the developer put it in himself without assurance that the city would purchase it.
To get this done in the shortest period of time, that's the only
That's the only way to do it.
way
Is
to
he
get
willing
there.
to do that?
I don't know. I certainly think that, again, it would be considerable savings to the city, assuming that the price he pays to put in the additional line is reasonable and something that we are able to look at, have appraised by an independent appraisal. And Joe Frank would certainly be able to help us do that. And so, you know, if he goes off the charts and has somebody go pay way too much money to put in the extra 4-inch line, you know, of capacity, then we're not going to purchase that. And so that would not be something that would be in the citizens' best interest.
Could we put a motion to, not to exceed X amount?
No, you can't have no discussions, that's the whole key with it. You cannot have no discussions of a pre-agreement on nothing dealing with this project. If you do, it's illegal. That's the whole key.
So there should not even be a motion tonight is what I think we're hearing.
The only thing the only way to proceed with something like this, and I'm not a lawyer, Mr. Pittman is the lawyer, that he go and talk with the developer and tell him what was talked about, and the developer have to make a decision whether to do it or not.
Correct.
Am I correct, Mr. Pittman?
You are correct. And I think that if you wanted to make any motion tonight, the motion would be that you move to offer to purchase at the additional cost, you know, the water, you know, the line. He can give it to the city, but, you know, he's not going to he could give the entire 12-inch line to the city. He's already committed to putting an 8-inch line in there, so if he wants us to take care of that line, he can give that to the city and sell us, he can just give it to us, or he'd sell us the additional 12 inches of what that costs. But that would, again, be subject to appraisal and good faith determination of reasonable cost. So you could make a motion to make an offer to purchase the additional 12-inch cost, subject to good faith negotiations and appraisals, if you wanted to make a motion.
I mean, we on slippery ground when we even do anything like that. I mean.
I just don't know, you know.
I mean, it's no way that he can, I know, offer assurance, but anything that's dealing with potential purchasing that's the slippery point right there. But I believe that from the discussion that's been going on, that the developer of that is aware of what's going on in so many words.
Of course,
I think
it could be.
You've been talking with more probably anybody. Probably you.
Talk to him, son. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts? Really, what's your thoughts?
Well, I mean, he's willing to, you know, I think the whole project, him putting in the pipe and everything was, I don't have it in front of me, it was like 290,000. And 200,000 of that's labor. So if we go in there afterwards, put in the 12-inch pipe right beside.
We passed that point, we all would agree with that,
Right.
but I'm talking about what we're discussing tonight. What's your, and I know you can't speak for him, but what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think he would love for us to, help offset paying from going from an 8-inch
Yeah.
pipe to a 12-inch pipe.
Yeah. That's what
And whatever that amount is,
Whatever, yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So, if you want to authorize me to discuss that with
Yes, I
Mr.
think
Drumright,
we
we
can do
can make
that.
a motion for that.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to do so.
I think that'll be the appropriate motion, Mr. Walker, Alderman Robinson, what do you think?
I agree.
Okay.
Would anybody like to make a motion?
I think, Alderman Robinson made.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion for our attorney to, speak with the field house on this.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. Thank you for your research on that, Stephen.
You're welcome.
Okay, item 26 is the approval to purchase.
25.
Oh, I passed it. I did pass it,
Have
didn't
yourself
I?
again.
All right, so we're going to talk about the eminent domain. We had sent him off to talk about possibly tracking down the last two families that we needed to buy property from, or an easement from, for AWG sewer project. I think he's going to give us his report and tell us what we need to do moving forward.
So, I know the city has, in the past, employed Attorney Paul Scott to handle some of the eminent domain cases for the city, and he's done a good job. I've talked with Mr. Scott. He would certainly make himself available to do this. And we talked about some of the steps that would need to be taken to get us to this point as quickly as possible. Again, you know, these things kind of come up and they're time sensitive, but they're not always time reality getting it done, you know. In this case, Mr. Lauderdale has already done some title research on these two small pieces of property that we need to purchase to, you know, satisfy the easement needs of AWG. Mr. Scott recommended we do a title search. I know Joe Frank has already done some of that. And he has found that it's difficult to track down these family members. We don't even know who the heirs are of Mr. Peak, who's deceased in Memphis. And so all that's going to take time. And the first thing we need to do, I need to do, is satisfy our good faith efforts to find these individuals, okay, and to talk and to see if we can negotiate a price. And it's not that much money to purchase these right-of-ways, these easements. If we can't do that within the time, you know, short time frame, or whatever the time frame it is that you tell me we have to get it done by, then we need to take, you know, the avenue of condemnation and eminent domain and do a quick take in that direction. So I would suggest that we continue our good faith efforts to track down and talk and negotiate with these family members for no more than, you know, can someone tell me what the time frame is on getting this done by?
Mr. Foster, our engineer with Pickering, is wanting to know how quickly we can move because it's going to be holding up work pretty
So
soon.
time is absolutely of the essence.
Time is of the essence
Okay.
on this project.
Then
And we have a fiduciary obligation to AWG to get that sewer line in a certain amount of time as part of our agreement with them.
So I think we've already partially satisfied our good faith attempts to track down the family members and to negotiate with them through Joe Frank's efforts. I will continue that, I would say, for no more than another week, and then we need to take a different route and go the condemnation route.
And to do that, if we're going to engage Paul Scott, I think we need a motion from this board to allow him to engage Paul Scott on our behalf for that eminent domain.
And if I could speak on that just briefly.
Yes, sir.
I think that would be, in this situation, and frankly, with my being new to this job, if it's of the, time is of the essence with this condemnation action, I think our money would be well spent with having Mr. Scott take on those responsibilities for this particular project.
Do you have an estimate what that'll cost?
I did not, but I can find out. I, of course, can work with him, to offset some of those costs. But as far as spearheading it and getting it done quickly, which I understand we need to do, I just think that it'd be best for him probably to lead the way on that to some degree.
Okay, would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to authorize our attorney to engage, the Scott forms for eminent domain and as they proceed.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're on item 26. Authorized to purchase one New Holland Workmaster 105 tractor on state contract for $53,907.84 from Twin Hills Equipment in Byhalia, and this is a Public Works budgeted item.
On the purchase, are we gonna cash as finance, what are we gonna do?
I think we were just paying cash on these tractors in the budget.
Yes, sir.
And we do have all those funds available?
Yes. The one good thing about the Public Works Department is they don't wait on property taxes, or their fees
I know,
come
that's
in
what
every
I'm saying,
month.
so
Yeah.
we already got them now.
Right.
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second by Alderman Piper. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. And the sister item is 27, approval to purchase one New Holland TS 6.120 tractor on state contract for $72,491.04 from Twin Hills Equipment by Byhalia, and this was the other Public Works budgeted item.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. And the final one of those three is to approve to purchase the Tiger sidearm boom mower for the New Holland from Covington Sales on the state contract for $61,291.06, and that was budgeted.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. And next is to approve to surplus the items in the Public Works Department that are listed to sell at Crenshaw Auction in Tunica.
Mayor, what happens with these once they're sold? How do those funds get distributed at that point?
They go back in as revenue. There's a revenue line item in the Public Works budget for items sold.
Okay.
So it will go right back into the Public Works budget.
Okay.
Kind of offset the,
Offset it just a tiny little bit.
just a
yeah.
hair, yeah.
Yep. Have a motion on that item?
A question for, Public Works Director. How many brush trucks we will have remaining now?
We have three, one new one and two old ones.
Okay. Thank you.
Someone like to proffer a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. And number 30 is the approval of the sole source letter for Public Works from Master Meter on behalf of Southern Pipe and Supply for their entire product line of water meters, AMR, AMI, meter reading system, components, and accessories.
I guess, why is it necessary? Is nothing else out there compatible? Because anytime that we deal with a sole source item, that put us at a distinctly disadvantage when we buying something. So my question is this right here. Have we looked at any other compatible item? And if we have, what was the rationale for choosing a single source?
We've got, currently we have three different types of brand meters in the ground. We have manual read meters, radio read meters, and then we have an RG3 radio read meter. The RG3s, we kind of did those in a trial. We bought about 100 of them. They didn't work too well. They failed a lot. And we're pretty heavily invested with Master Meter. You have to buy their product to read their meter remotely. So we're in pretty deep with them as far as that goes. So we just wanted to continue the relationship with them since we've kind of established it.
That's my whole point. Once you get in so deep, then they got you, I ain't gonna use what I wanna say, but you know what I'm talking about. They got you hanging out there on the limb.
I will say that
I'm just-
years ago, we waited while other cities around us adopted these things, and South Haven adopted some that were a nightmare. And so then we watched very closely, and it appeared at that time that master meter was kind of the standard, the gold standard, and the one that was the most reliable. And that's how we got involved with them back then.
They have the longest warranty, and they do prorated warranty if the registers or something.
And I guarantee their price is this.
They're actually
Let's be honest, you know their price is up, so they price good, so they can afford to give warranty because we the only game in town.
They're worldwide. But that's why we decided to continue to go with them.
Approximately how many of our meters have a master meter in them now?
Around 4,000,
Okay.
a little over that, between 4,000 and 5,000.
So how many are we purchasing?
Mainly this is gonna be for registers. Registers that have failed, we're gonna send them all back. They'll go to, the warranty department, they'll check them out. They'll tell us what the proration is on each one of them. We'll make a decision there if we needed to purchase, if it's worth purchasing a new meter versus, getting them to fix an old register and, sending us that one back.
Thank you.
But it's gonna be around $700 to answer your question.
Any other questions? Not, can I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. And next is an approval of the utility adjustments docket.
Motion.
To approve.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Can I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
There is a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank y'all.